details. After a prolonged back and forth per court documents, customers would be directed to a back entrance for 2220 Q Street Northwest, where they could allegedly purchase marijuana products.
But it didn't matter. I've sat in or saw videos, I'll just say this, wasn't a part of a whole lot of raids because me being in DC, a lot of people used to do these parties where people who weren't from DC and didn't understand that. We used to tell them, well, this is sort of new, so you may want to chill a little bit, do it a certain way, and they would go full-fledged ahead, and the police would come, kick in the door, take everybody's stuff. I wasn't a part of any of these raids, I can fortunately say. The people who didn't listen or wanted to do whatever, they did push forward. A lot of people capitalized by pushing forward. DC police started raiding different places, started locking different people up. They even got hit to the airport game at one time, man. From there, we went into the store era of people owning stores, because like you said, it was still sort of a turn and look away, and it was sort of okay, we're still gonna lock you up depending on who you were. Not sure how or how they were, picking who they wanted to get. I used to always say, man, get in cool with the ANCs and whoever the politicians were, and you probably had a chance of survival. But yeah, the stores, you had the guys who opened up stores and decided to go full-fledged. I'm gonna sit here all day in this one spot and I'm gonna get it in this way. And even that, I remember the first store was Gold Label, 5A. It was over on 8th Street. And I'm not gonna say the first because every time you say the first of something, someone's always coming up with, no, you're wrong, this was the first one. So I'm not gonna say the first, I wanna say one of the first that I remember was Gold Label. I had my merchandise in Gold Label, so that's why I remembered it. Gold Label used to have a line. Oh boy, when that store opened, people really took to Gold Label. It was really no parking out there, and that was sort of one of the things that always brought attention. I always go back to the parking, the line, and the crowds, because a lot of this stuff wasn't used or seen in DC. So when DC, it really did first started happening, it was noticeable. The store that I'm talking about in particular, Gold Label, there was very little parking in that area. So people would park in the gas station. You can imagine what type of problems that started and how, and sometimes we're not looking at things like it's a problem, but others are noticing things, and that's what ends up happening. And they got raided, they got their doors kicked in. Some of the clubs, I know someone who had a club up on 9th Street, and it was under constant harassment and surveillance of the authorities in DC because they kept opening the club also every night and doing parties. So, it wasn't all, they didn't have, I think, all the legal regulations and everything needed to, do those things in DC. DC will take you through the ringer to do different things and businesses that you want to start in DC, but at that time you couldn't really license to sell. So that was the problem, and like I said, a lot of these places got raided. But then the pandemic came, and from the pandemic, the licensed stores, because we always had licensed stores. If you watched any of the videos, go back and check them out. But we've always had licensed stores. The licensed stores could not open like a regular store couldn't open during the pandemic. So the city turned a blind eye to the stores that were I-71 or that were considered, people would consider a rec. You didn't have to go through the whole function of applying for a DC self-certification, and you would go in and show your ID and you'd be able to shop. And a lot of the weed was by way of intercommerce, wasn't so much local grown growers or through a whole industry stand. We called it the Wild Wild East. And it was that cannabis gold rush that everyone's familiar with when it does hit your state. But y'all stay tuned. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy One Deuce Blunt Facts. A Think Look on the City. Catch y'all the next video. See y'all soon. Let's get it.